What's up, everybody? Super excited to have this conversation today. I've got my friend Jon Bolton. We're going to talk all things ICCFA experience. If you have not been to the ICCFA experience, you need to be. And after watching this, you're going to run and register. If not, we didn't do our job. And I'm hyped on it. I know John's hyped on it, but I'm going to let John introduce himself as if you actually need an introduction. I don't know that you do.
Well, I might. So, yeah, I'm Jon Bolton. I'm almost been in the business in the funeral business 40 years. This is my 38th year. Um, I feel like I've been doing this all my life, which I pretty much have.
Wow.
I am vice president of operations for development for Park Lawn Corporation. I am in charge of throwing stuff at our top line with developments and different initiatives and seeing what sticks. So that's kind of me in a nutshell when it comes to this profession. We could talk a whole nother podcast, Ryan, about other things, but we'll stick to the profession right now.
Well, I mean, and then you also are a advocate and volunteer with an exorbitant amount, I don't even know if that's a word, exorbitant, I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say, amount of time
Yeah.
dedicated to ICCFA and making sure that all things ICCFA are great. The experience is one of those things. You and I have been on a lot of planning calls together, but really like you are a driver with the team at ICCFA around this experience. So, give me your thoughts on the ICCFA experience.
So, this came about. We were in a strategic planning meeting a few years ago, and I can't remember who it was in our group that kind of said, we need to make this more like a music festival, more like a place that people want to go, not that they feel obligated to go. And so we kind of said, oh, that'd be really cool. Let's have it all interactive and let's put up a bunch of stages and the experience is just that, right? So customer experience drives business these days, whether it's our profession or Amazon or anybody else. Customer experience is what drives it. So we wanted to get away from the standard, let's go to a convention, let's go into some breakout rooms and learn some things, let's walk around to see some suppliers. We wanted to make it more interactive and more feel like, wow, I'm a part of this. I'm not just attending. I'm actually a part of this, and I'm part of what makes this successful. So that's kind of where we went with the experience. The biggest thing I think that differentiates it from anything else is we don't have breakout rooms.
Yeah.
All the educational content is right there in the exhibit hall. It makes suppliers, right, they're happy
Yep.
because
Yep.
everybody's there all day long. And then it makes our attendees happy because they're not looking at maps trying to figure out where they got to go, and I'm late and I'm walking in and the presenter's halfway through, and they just go find a stage and sit down. And it kind of, Lori and I, we like to go to food festivals, and we go to the
Mhm.
International Coffee Festival in San Francisco every year, and they've got these little mini stages set up all over the place, and all of a sudden you'll just hear somebody talk and you can walk up, and there may only be 50, 60 people listening to these people, but again, there's three or four stages going on at once. So altogether there's 200 people listening to coffee,
Yeah.
right? And that's kind of the
Yeah.
concept behind the experience.
And I love it. So I mean I see it obviously from the supplier perspective because we attend and we exhibit, and I loved the setup of the experience last year. Last year was the first year, like it was the trial run, I think, for the experience versus it being the normal kind of convention feel with breakout rooms. I love everybody being in the same room. I love the opportunity for networking across 2 days. Yes, there are set exhibit hours, but like the ability to network and have conversations the entire 2 days where everybody's together, multiple stages going with great content. And I think ICCFA has done a great job bringing in um, engaging content topics, like very relevant and not a lot of, there's some outside the profession perspective, but you've really done a great job of sourcing the people in the profession that that know this, bleed this, breathe this, to really be able to have presentations and educate. And I love that. So tell me, like, what are you looking the most forward to this year, about the experience, and where is the experience? Like, let's hit on
Well,
that
I was going to
first.
say we might need to clarify because I may be looking most forward to the fact that it's in Fort Worth, Texas. So um, a lot of people don't know about Fort Worth. I'm very familiar with Fort Worth because of my barbecue affiliation, and I compete there a lot. The World Championships are there every year, so I'm there quite a bit. But it's kind of one of those places when you think of DFW, right? You think of the Dallas Fort Worth there, you think of Dallas. Well,
Hmm.
Fort Worth is kind of the old school oil money, really cattle driven, kind of feel, and it's just cool, right? I mean, it's
It
Austin
is
kind of
cool.
has that cool vibe, Fort Worth, the downtown area of Fort Worth and the Stockyard area, it's got a really sweet vibe, man. That's what I really can't wait for Fort Worth. So,
Yeah, I'm
um,
gonna I'm gonna echo that. My daughter just committed to TCU because we've been spending a decent amount of time in Fort Worth, and I slept on Fort Worth for a long time. I've slept on Fort Worth my whole life. Like, it's vibey. I think it would be dope, John, if we could get, like, they have the cattle drive
yeah.
twice a day. Can we get one of these cattle to pull a casket? Like, that'd be pretty sick.
Well, I've made a few calls, Ryan. I'm not going to commit to anything, but I have made a few calls to people that I know in Fort Worth, and we're working on something special with a big longhorn. So
Let's go.
I'm going to keep
I
that
like it.
quiet for now, but we'll see.
Okay. You got to be there to find out what it is. All right, so Fort Worth, that's one reason. Two, let's look at the experience itself. Like, what are you really looking forward to? What do
So
you what are you hyped on this year?
yeah, so I mean, as a representative of ICCFA, and I'm really into the education part of ICCFA, right? I grew up in this profession because of the opportunities that ICCFA afforded me through some of the educational
Mhm.
things, right? So I'm big on that. I think you can get normal profession stuff at any conference you go to, right? Memorialization trends and sales and marketing strategies. We're going to cover all of that, but we also really heavily are leaning into some of the more AI related things this
Message on
year.
your phone from Kali.
I don't know what the heck that was. Somebody just said something.
My No, my phone's dinging.
Oh,
We're good. We can cut that.
all right.
Let me.
So we're really leaning heavy into the AI and technology this year a little bit, which is is really driving not just our profession, but driving
Yeah.
people, right? Driving business, and we're really leaning heavy into that changing customer expectations. We've kind of talked about it for years, and we've talked about it very specifically, about their expectations changing with casket selection and urn selection and things like that. But we're really broadening that and really looking at what's driving their expectations. And I think again, we're doing all the normal stuff that you do at every conference, right? But I think by really focusing on those customer expectations and then really focusing on AI and different aspects of that, I think are really going to set this conference apart. And look, and when I look up and down the lineup, I don't think you want to miss it. I mean, the keynote, Chris Bacchinelli, and I'm reading it so I don't get his name wrong. Chris Bacchinelli, um, he's talking about authentic connection with the people that we do business with, and I really we can talk about that. But this guy, I was watching a video of his. He's like a National Geographic explorer guy, which it's just going to be cool to listen to his stories and see how he connects what we do with people and that connection. I'm really excited about him.
I'm excited about that as well. And I love that you said AI. Like, obviously I live on the marketing and tech side of the profession, and what AI, the possibilities inside of death care. If we don't start talking about these things and we don't start figuring it out, we will be left behind, because it's moving at light speed. And it doesn't mean that death care
Yeah.
has to embrace every single aspect of it. But my goodness, there are so many different small applications that apply to the daily work that would assist a funeral professional and a cemetery and a crematory in running their operations more efficiently and help margins increase by just making slight little tweaks. So that's exciting. I am pretty excited for America's Got Ashes. I think that conversation and that kind of game show style is going to be really cool. I've been, you said you've been around death care for 38 years. I think this is year 22 for me. So like half my life has been never on the funeral home side. I'm not a funeral director, but from the supplier side, been in this profession 22 years. And I don't know if there's been a single month in 22 years where I haven't had a conversation with somebody about how do we get people to take ashes off of a mantle or out of the closet and do something with them. So
It's
like
the
that conversation is going to be really cool.
it's the $1 million question, right? I mean, it's the multi-million-dollar question. I
That's
mean,
right. That's right.
I think I read a report recently. I live in California, and I think I read where one in four households have a set of cremated remains inside of them. That's huge when you do the math.
Wow.
That's
That's
huge. So
unreal.
this America's Got Ashes. Yeah, our friend Paul Masters, kind of this was his brainchild, and he was like, let's. We've all been talking about it, but let's try and get
Yeah.
some real solutions, right? So we're bringing real people, real arrangers, real counselors up on stage, and again, a kind of a game show setting where they're going to present how they bring people off mantles and out of closets into cemeteries and permanent placement, permanent memorialization. And our panel of judges, our esteemed judges, and I smile because I think people might be looking at a couple of them, but we actually have some consumers too, some people that are
Hmm.
outside of the profession that are going to be able to say, yeah, I would talk to him. I like that
Yeah.
approach. I think people can really learn from that.
It's going to be great. It's such, and you said the right word. You said solutions, and I think that I believe that what ICCFA has put together with the experience, the educational tracks is solutions. And I know in being a part of some of the planning around it, like the conversation around presentations and the education was geared around solutions. It's
Yeah.
great to throw out ideas, but can we throw out ideas with solutions? And so if you're not planning on being at ICCFA experience, like I gotta ask you, John, why would somebody not come to ICCFA experience?
I don't know. Maybe if a bomb hit their house or something. I mean, I don't know because look, I'm living proof of what can happen when you attend conferences like this, and I think look the solution part of that, Ryan. We've really focused on anybody can get up there and say, yeah, we think it's a great idea if you have catering in your funeral home and thank you very much. And everybody, well, that's not a solution.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
Right.
And we've
Right.
really, really drilled in on look, we don't want speakers with ideas. We want speakers with solutions. And if you can't
Yeah.
provide us, two or three ironclad solutions on how to get this started or how to solve this problem or, that we're going to look somewhere else. And we found
Hmm.
speakers like that are going to provide these solutions. So look, I guess if people don't want to grow and they're happy with keeping their head buried in the sand and they're happy with, their margins, slimming down and they're laying off staff and they're trying to figure out how to keep the doors open, then they need to stay at home. But if they're trying to figure out how to progress through the new consumer age, the new, we're in a consumer driven time right now. It's no longer where we can kind of dictate to consumers what they want. They're telling us what they want. If you don't want that, stay at home. But if you
Yeah.
want to kind of progress and make sure you don't close your doors and you can, do more than just make your car payment every month, then you need to attend.
I love that. And I want to ask you this question because I want to know your answer to it. What do you say to the funeral professional that says, "Well, I'm not a member of ICCFA. I'm a member of this other association, and I support that convention, so I can't come to ICCFA."
I First of all, I think it's great. I think being a member of multiple organizations is important, but I think I've attended both, and both have merits. Both have a lot to offer. Um, but again, I think the biggest difference that I've seen over the last few years are the ideas versus solutions. And I really think we focused on the solutions and the networking part. And I'm not saying that anybody else does a bad job at that. That's our intent focus with
Hmm.
ICCFA. And I think you need to find a way to attend both, right? I think
100%.
there's absolutely the reason you learn by attending these things, and I think that's important. But again, everything that we've done with the experience, starting last year, this year, and even moving forward into next year, which we've already started talking about, you know, is done with intent, is done intentionally, and there's a reason that we set up, the bars in the middle of the suppliers. There's a reason that we set tall tables up all over the place because that increases networking opportunities. There's a reason that we have the stages inside. Everything's intent, and I think that's what sets this conference, apart from any competitors. Again, not that they
Love
do a
it.
bad job, because they don't. They do a great job,
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
there's different things you can learn by different things.
I mean, we exhibited all of it, and I think that when you can get yourself in different rooms and around different people and different networks of people, and you can have different conversations, you can find value in every room that you get in.
Yeah,
And I think that from a funeral professional standpoint, if you've not attended, you owe it to yourself to attend and see the conversation. I think you hit the nail on the head. If you want to grow your business and you want to go, okay, the next 10 years, there's going to be a lot of change in this profession. The consumer is changing, the profession is changing, the way people buy and shop is changing, the market's changing, like everything is changing and it's changing rapidly. If you want to be able to keep pace and you want to be able to continue to scale and grow your business, then you have to be in these rooms.
yeah,
You have to be in
totally,
these rooms.
totally agree. And look, it's kind of like, look, again, the other organization does a great job. But if you've only been listening to the people that feed information to that other information, the speakers, the supply, everybody that's always here, you're never going to get out of this focus. You're never going to look. Oh, wait a
Hmm.
minute. This guy that is predominantly, an ICCFA speaker like me, or my wife Lori, who is speaking at the experience, you're not going to hear another perspective. And it's the same, we're singing from the same hymnal here. We may just be singing a different tune, right? It's
Hmm.
just, I do competition barbecue, and I was sponsored by this one group for several years. And all the information that I was getting on how to cook better and how to, keep my fire going better was coming from this one group. Well, that's all that I listened to, and that's all that I understood. Well, when I shifted my focus a little, it's not that I was ignoring this other group, I was still part of them. But when I started listening and had some friends that were cooking with this team over here, and they shared different experiences and different ideas, I learned more. It wasn't that
Yeah,
I was giving up on this group over here. I was still very loyal to them, but I was able to learn so much more by expanding my horizons and listening to this group. So,
that's
you
great.
know, for those people who have never attended this before, that have only attended the other, great. You need to attend the other. But hey, I'm challenging you to come to this and tell me that you didn't learn something, a different perspective. It may have been on the same topic, but a different
Mhm.
perspective.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so if someone wants to register, what is the easiest, most seamless way for them to do so?
ICCFA.com. That's the easiest way. You go to ICCFA.com. There will be a big thing that says the experience Fort Worth 2026. Register here. Click on the button. If I can figure it out, anybody can figure it out.
That's great. All right, John. Well, I look forward to seeing you in about, I don't know, 45, 50 days, something
Yeah,
like
it's not
that
far
at,
now.
at the experience.
April 29th, man. We're there.
We're right there, Fort Worth, Texas, and it's going to be great. So
It'll
I
be
look
fun.
forward to seeing you and everybody else.
Hey, and I'm lining you up for that Longhorn, Ryan. So if I get this
Okay.
arranged, you know, I got your back on this one.
All right. I'll stare it down. Let's get it done.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Ryan.